Kids Playground. Hooray!
Hey, welcome to the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Zito. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. You can check out all of our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out. Keyboardist and composer Rick Wakeman, probably best known for his time with the rock band Yes. He's our guest this week on Celebrity Jobber. Hey, how's it going, Rick?
Very well indeed, thanks.
Well, I hear you're doing a tour mixed with your life story. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a sort of a music. I've got some couple of keyboards and the piano, and in between the music, which is a mixture of stuff that I've been involved with over the years with people such as David Bowie, obviously Yes, and Cat Stevens, and a few other bits and pieces. I tell completely silly stories in between, some of which are, well, true to a certain extent. Just a fun thing. Like, imagine everybody in my lounge having, a bit of music and some nice silly stories. That's what we try to do, and it's a good format that I enjoy, because you're very close to people, which I really like.
Tell me a silly story, Rick, if you wouldn't mind.
What silly story can I tell you that I'm not going to do on stage? Because otherwise I give that away.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin it for other people listening to this, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you one. I was in France when I was playing with Straubs in Paris. We were playing in a circus, and this was in 1970, and I was playing a little electric keyboard, because it was Straubs basically a folk band, and I only had one solo to do. That's all I had.
Right.
And I was just coming up to my little solo, as I say, 1970, and I saw this guy walk on stage in a cape, a big hat, waving a stick about, with a silly moustache. And I thought, who the hell's that? And he was and he was completely ruining my solo, just wandering up and down on this. And I thought, I've had enough of this. So I got off of the little keyboard, walked over to him, and he turned round and started speaking, which I now know was Spanish, which is in the middle of France. So I said a few words. I asked him to go away, but not quite those words.
Right.
In fact, the second word I think was off, if I remember, which even in Spanish he understood, and he waved his stick. So I pushed him off the stage.
Oh, man.
So I came back, and the solo, I missed all that. We came up afterwards, and Dave Cousins, who's the leader of the Straws, said to me, we've been trying to get some publicity here in France. I said, yeah. He said, I think we're going to get it now. I said, just because I pushed some long-moustached idiot wearing a silly hat off the stage because he ruined my solo. He said, that'll do it. I said, why? He said that person was Salvador Dali.
How long ago was that, Rick?
That was 1970.
Okay, so I don't think people were as litigious back in 1970 as they are today.
No, they weren't. And yes, we did leave France quite quickly.
I got right the hell out of there, right?
Yeah.
You know what's funny, Rick, is you've got a date coming up in Clearwater, March 25th, Ruth Eckerd Hall, an evening with Rick Wakeman. I just want you to know, in case you don't know this already, that from that venue, maybe about 15 or 20 minutes south of that venue, is the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg.
Oh, my God. Really? Oh, dear.
So just think about that as you're performing, and hopefully everything goes well. But yeah,
thanks.
Tell me a little bit about growing up, Rick. I mean, what an incredible career, but and I know with your new tour, you're going to be going into a lot of your life as a musician and maybe before a musician. But growing up, can you tell me a little bit about with your mom and dad and how growing up went for you?
Well, it was a great great time to grow up, really, because there wasn't much sort of diversions in life away from. I mean, I was born in 1949, and in the early 50s, my dad was a great piano player. He was a wonderful piano player. He played stride piano like Charlie Coons and Fats Waller, and he was great. And my mum used to sing, and we didn't have a telly in the early 50s, so Dad used to play the piano, and Mum would sing, and I'd listen in raptures, age 3 and 4 and 5, and just all I wanted to do was music. There was obviously no diversionary things such as computers or phones or anything like that. So the only things in your life were, for me, was music and soccer. Playing that. And then when I reached the early teens, realizing that the 3 little girls that lived next door weren't quite as little anymore. So that was the third thing that came into my life. But music was all I ever lived for. In fact, I don't know what on earth I would have ended up if I hadn't become a musician. I mean, I was very lucky. My father sent me to a wonderful music teacher at the age of 5. I stayed with her all the way through to getting my scholarship at the Royal College of Music, which was great. And then doing all the various sessions and things I did, there was nothing else in my life but music. I mean, it's just, and I can't imagine anything else in my life other than music. I really can't.
What was your father's line of work, Rick?
My father, interesting man. I'm going to write a book about my father because he died, unfortunately, 45 years ago. But I found out more and more and more about his life after he passed away. He worked for a building company that made kitchens, bathrooms, all sorts of things, tile companies. Excuse me. And I mean, he is known over here for being very much responsible for designing the first facilities for disabled people in toilets and things and bathrooms and kitchens. I mean, he was just a remarkable man. Everybody loved him. But he loved his music, very supportive of me. The house was just full of music all the time, and he just encouraged me to enjoy every kind of music there was.
And going back to when you said if it wasn't for music, you don't know what you would have been doing if you were just Rick Wakeman, no cape, no keyboards.
The interesting thing was my last school report. Very occasionally, the headmaster would write something on somebody's report, and he wrote on mine, Wakeman is likely to end up in one of 3 places. 1, the Houses of Parliament. 2, on stage at the London Palladium. 3, in prison.
Well, he was right. You did end up on stage, but I was gonna ask, did your father ever try to push you in his line of work? As
no. My father was very much you do as life wants to take you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Supportive. And ironically, out of those 3 things the headmaster wrote, I've been in all 3. I mean, I've believe it or not, I was an advisor for intellectual property rights to the government for quite a few years. So I used to go down to Westminster and talk to MPs and lords and things, which I still do occasionally. So that was great fun. Yes, I have been on the London Palladium on many occasions, including last week, twice. And as for in prison, I have actually been into prisons, not sent there by a judge, but there to do various things to help.
So Rick, let me ask you, what was your first job? Do you remember your first job? Was it music related, or was it painting houses or delivering newspapers?
During my school holidays, I did work for a removal company, moving people, their furniture from house to house. I did do that in my school holidays to help earn a few pounds. Excuse me. and which did I enjoy it? No, but I never really had any other job apart from making music.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a real a blessing, if you will. It is.
I'm just so grateful.
Tell me a little bit about your big break. When did your big break occur? And do you remember the series of events that led to your big break?
I don't think there was one big break. There was a series of things that happened over the years, and each one, without me realizing it, helped me up another rung on the ladder. There was one when I did Straws. We played at a place called the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London, and the reviews were great, but also because I was sort of the first person to use a Hammond organ in a folk band, it sort of attracted a bit of attention. And the Melody Maker, which was the big music paper in England, it was huge, had sold millions of copies every week. I used to travel on a train into London to get the first editions on a Thursday morning, and I came into London on a train, and I picked it up from the newsstand, got on the train, and I opened it up and reading it, and realised that there were some people opposite me on the train just staring at me, and I thought, what's that all about? And I closed the newspaper and realised I was on the front page. Melody Maker had put me on the front page, which was seen by quite a few million people, and that led to a few other things. So it was lots of different things like that. Yes, obviously enjoying them and in America, and then getting the opportunity to make an album with A&M Records with the Six Wives. It was a series of lots of events. There wasn't just one thing that helped. It was just a lot of things that helped. But I'd like to think that I sort of helped myself by, because I lived music from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed.
Rick, is it true that when Yes recorded the album Fragile, they did it in 5 weeks so they could resume touring to help finance a new set of keyboards for you?
No, that's not true.
It's not true.
True, we did it in about 5 weeks, which back then seemed an incredibly long time, but now it seems short. No, the keyboards, everybody bought all their own equipment. It wasn't, which was always the great advantage for the singer.
Right, exactly.
Who had to lash out on a tambourine, and that was it. The keyboard players were always the short straw, because your stuff was 10 times more expensive than everybody else's.
Oh, man. Where did the cape come from, Rick? Did you have an epiphany one day and said, this is going to be my look?
No, it was... we did a show in 1971 with Yes in America, and the review gave us a very nice review, and was very kind about us all. It said that with arms and legs flaying everywhere, I looked like a demented spider. And the following night we played, and I was thinking, I thought, he's right, because there were no music stands or keyboard stands back then, so I had legs and arms going everywhere. And we played Hartford, Connecticut, and the show was being introduced outside show in a small baseball stadium.
Right.
And we were due about 10 bands on, and we were being introduced by a DJ a disc jockey from the local radio station, and he was wearing a little small cape, just a 3/4 length cape, and we're waiting at the side of the stage, and he turned around and come off, and he was quite large, and I thought, God, cape hides a multitude of sins. And I thought, I need a cape. So he came off. We'd just been paid. I'd got $200 in my pocket, 10 $20 bills. And that was our week's wage. You had to pay for everything out of that. And he came and I said, I want to buy your cape. He said, not for sale. I said, I want to buy it. And I took the money out. I said, look, this is what I've got. This is all I've got, $200. And he looked at the $200 and he said, you got it. So he gave me the cape. I went on and when I came off, Michael Tate, the famous Michael Tate of Tate Towers of Lidditz, he said to me, "That's your answer, but not a black cape with a moon on the back." He said, I know a girl. He said, "I know a girl in Ohio who will make exactly what is needed."
Wow!
And he introduced me to this lovely lady who made the first sparkly cape, and that was it, really. From that moment on, I had a different cape for every major tour, whether my own or for Yes. And I stopped wearing them for a very short period of time, and the backlash I got from people was astonishing. How dare you go on stage without a cape?
Right.
But I only wear them on the rock shows. You can't wear them to play the piano.
Right. Understood.
They're too heavy at the back, and basically you fall over backwards, which is quite amusing, but not good for playing the piano.
Well, I guess now that I'm getting older and my waist is expanding, I might want to start thinking about investing in a cape.
Good idea. I wear one all the time.
Listen, great talking to you. And
you, my friend. Thank you.
There you go. A lot of support from his parents. He really wanted to pursue music, and he got the support that he needed at home. And probably the reason that he never really made another dollar outside of music. His first job, though, he was a mover when he was in school. And he would have a little bit of a break. He would grab some furniture and load it up into a van and move it from place to place. So that was his first job. We've all had a first job. And it's pretty interesting to find out what some of these famous people did before they hit it big. I think I freaked him out a little bit with that Salvador Dali information. Being so close to the Salvador Dali Museum when he's playing here in the Tampa Bay area. Pretty cool story. I have a feeling he's going to include that when he has his gig in Tampa Bay. Thanks again for listening to Celebrity Jobber. Again, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. And you can check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. Great guests coming up in the near future, like Jason Bieler from the band Saigon Kick, and Lorraine Bracco from Goodfellas, and of course, The Sopranos. Until next time, I'm Jeff Zito.